to you today about healing and why this is super important for you to be able to meet your husband, get into the right relationship so that you can build the home that God has called you to build. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tolu. I'm a Christian dating coach. My specialty is showing single Christian women how to go from single to married in a year. And currently, my wife in waiting program is open. It's a 6-month group coaching program that shows single Christian women over 30 how to get into the right relationship in 6 months so they're on track for marriage in a year. You can click the link in my bio to apply. Our doors are open till the 28th of February and then we are closed. Okay, so let's talk about healing and how it makes you attractive to your husband. First thing I want to say is it's very important when you're dating that you don't come with your wounds. Your wounds from having a traumatic upbringing, your wounds from a relationship that crashed, your wounds from dealing with a toxic man. Because if you lead with your wounds, you're going to attract broken men. And what I mean by that is you're going to attract men that are manipulators, gaslighters. You're going to attract men that take advantage of your weaknesses and your wounds. You're going to attract a lot of men that do not have any respect for you or respect for the calling and are not in a position to cover you as a partner. And it's going to also affect the quality of dates that you will be experiencing. So when you date wounded men, or rather broken men, because you are dating out of your wounds, you're dating like a wounded woman, you will find that men make it very impossible to try and match your needs. So even if it's as simple as seeing each other, he makes it a big deal. Even if it's just going on a date, he makes it a major deal. They don't really respect your emotions. They don't respect your time. And if you're experiencing this cycle as a woman over 30, that every other area of your life is sorted, it can feel very demoralizing because you start to question that maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe, I have kids, so maybe I don't have the same options as a woman that doesn't have kids. Maybe this is the way they do it here. Maybe, in that context, maybe you've moved to a new location and you just assume these are just my options. No. What is actually going on is you're dating out of your wounds. So what happens as a result is you're going to attract men that are unhealthy, and these are not only broken men. When I say broken, there's a number of categories, but specifically emotionally unavailable men, professional gaslighters, men that are there to take advantage of you financially. So if you have any men coming to mind, and as I'm saying these things, it's because you are dating out of your wounds. It is not a prayer point that is going to solve that problem. It is not trying to shrink yourself that is going to solve that problem. It is learning to heal and adjust the way in which you are choosing men that will change that result. And that's why inside the Wife in Waiting program, the first thing I like to do with my clients is really understand, okay, how did you choose the men that you have chosen in your past, your last relationship, your marriage, the broken engagement you went through? What led you to make that decision? Because it's very important to understand the responsibility and the role you played in creating that relationship in your life. And that will change the way in which you, firstly, understand the way you show up as a woman. Secondly, change the quality of men that you entertain, and finally put you in a position where you can start to have connections with men you can actually build healthy relationships with. But if you don't know your wounds and you're clueless about how it has shown up in the way you date and the way you make yourself available to men, you will keep attracting men that take advantage of you. You will keep attracting unserious options and partners. Even as you get older, maybe you're in your 40s, your 50s, you will always have the same issue that you had when you were younger. So it's not a question of changing your location or changing the way you dress, or changing the way in which changing the length of time before you agree to a relationship. There's a deeper issue here, which is the psychology that you're using in the first place to determine the men that you're exposing yourself to and how you are creating opportunity for the right men to meet you. So that's why it's really important to learn, okay, where are my wounds showing up in my dating process and how do I start healing those wounds? Inside Wife in Waiting, what I do is I help you to understand this is where you got the wound. Maybe you got it from being the first daughter. Maybe you got it from being in a toxic marriage. And then we need to now identify, how has that wound shown up in other areas of your life? Has it shown up in the way in which you show up in your professional life, your friendships, your family dynamics? Because those are the patterns and the habits that are holding you hostage from actually meeting your husband. And inside Wife in Waiting, we break this down practically. Like, the program has a dating curriculum that shows you exactly where you need to start working on, regardless of your dating background, history, or your personality. The curriculum breaks down how you can start healing yourself through the process of understanding exactly what you've been doing wrong, how to shift that mindset. And of course, I provide coaching as well for clients inside the Wife in Waiting program. So clients have access to coaching with me in our private community. And we also have our coaching calls where I give clients direct feedback on their current dating experiences and any gaps and any wounds I'm seeing that we need to heal and we need to close to shorten the timeline for you to meet your husband. Because something else that happens when you're dating with your wounds is it leads to delay. I'll give you a very visual example. Imagine you injured your leg. You clearly will not walk at the same pace as you did when your leg wasn't injured. That's the same with dating. Whenever you are dating with your wounds, you will find yourself moving slower through the dating process. It's like dating with an infected limb. It will slow you down. It will come with a lot of hurt and pain. If it's not disinfected, kind of going all the way with this analogy, if it's not disinfected, it's going to attract a lot of, it's going to attract a lot of dirt. It's going to attract a lot of germs and so on and so forth. And it's going to eventually become a very, a very toxic part of your body. That's the same with dating. So if you find yourself dating with wounds, it's going to become infected and infested with the wrong mindset. You're going to start talking to men that take advantage of you, that talk to you anyhow. You're going to move farther away from the trajectory of actually meeting your husband. But the first thing that you need to do is actually learn to understand where is that coming from and cut it off. And this is the work I do with my clients. So clients can come into Wife in Waiting for a variety of reasons, but maybe a client comes in because she has experienced a broken relationship or she has experienced a toxic marriage. And the first thing that I like to do is understand, what's your history? Where did this happen? And why? And what are the, would I say, remnants of that experience that is currently showing up in your life? Because wounds will always show up, right? Imagine you had an injury and somebody just pokes that area. You're going to jump. That's how a wound shows up. You may find that you irrationally burst out in anger. You close off conversations prematurely. You may find that you are always seeking for external validation. That's a wound. So it's important to be able to recognize how this wound shows up. So maybe, going back to my analogy, a client comes in, she's struggling to move forward from that relationship, and it's usually because she's so focused on the wound that she doesn't see what's right in front of her. So inside Wife in Waiting, we have one of our elements in the program, in our curriculum, is understanding how to date with a safety net. A safety net is the way I help my clients to trust that they can move forward. So a safety net in this particular instance will look like, I show you the actual visual of, this is how you're going to meet a man that makes sense. This is how you're going to start going on dates again. This is what we're going to do to get you in the right spaces, to be able to leverage online dating, to be able to leverage your network, to be able to leverage in-person opportunities, to make sure that you are front-facing the opportunities to meet your husband. Because when my clients start doing that, it forces them to let go of past mindsets, and it also brings the wound up faster. I've seen instances where we say, I may say, okay, let's try this approach, and maybe a client that is dealing with a wound will say, oh no, I'm not ready for that. But that's the point. The point of the process is for me to be able to walk with you and support you through that journey and transition. And if you don't learn how to, and of course, when clients do this, they are able to start dating again, get into relationships, see more opportunities, meet their husbands, and get married, right? That's the whole point of the process that I just outlined. And when you don't do that, when you don't step out of your comfort zone because of your wound, you are going to find yourself stuck. So part of the reason why you haven't moved forward in years is not because there is delay, it's because you literally haven't made any different decisions. And why haven't you made different decisions? Because your wound is affecting the way in which you are thinking. You have just repeated the same cycle again and again, and it just hasn't led to any practical results. You've attracted the same kind of men. You've attracted the same length of relationships. Your relationships always break down at the point of 3 months. Your relationships never reach marriage. You always have a broken engagement. You've never gone on a date, and it's been years since you were last approached. That is very clear evidence that there is a wound at play that needs to be fixed for you to break that cycle. And that is the work we do inside the Wife in Waiting program that gets my clients meeting men, going on dates, and in relationships in 6 months. It is beyond, oh, use this dating app, go to this event, talk to this man. It's the deeper work of healing, of learning what it looks like. And I'm not saying you'll be fully healed before you meet your husband. I am saying, however, you cannot meet your husband if you are dating with your wounds. It is going to affect the way in which you are visible to men, the way you're perceived, the quality of men you're attracting. So if you want to know how deeply your wound is affecting your choices, just look at the quality of men you're attracting. That's the very first indication you will see. If you're attracting a lot of toxic men, then you are dealing with a very deep wound that is affecting the way in which you're choosing men. If another example is, if you find yourself, your relationships are always breaking down at a particular point, you're probably dealing with a wound that comes from your childhood or your history, maybe somewhere when you were growing up, because usually that kind of wound doesn't show up at the beginning. It shows up maybe a couple of months down the line, because it's something that you've been carrying for years, and it's something that you've learned to mask, and you may not even know it's there. So the work that I do with my clients in Wife in Waiting is to shorten that timeline. Instead of spending years trying to discover, okay, where are my wounds? Why do I keep attracting the wrong men? We find it in minutes inside the program, so that we can now tackle those wounds and really pay attention to how it's showing up, so that you are now in position to meet your husband. I have literally had clients where the sole focus of our work together has just been in changing their mindset and healing their wounds, not meeting men, not going on dates, but just that focus, because I knew that was the blocker. And once we did that work, they still get married within a year. Because it's not about, and I want to be very clear here, it's not about just saying, let me try this app, let me do this, let me do that. It is also the wounds that you're carrying, because at the end of the day, you are putting out a scent that is going to attract men. When I say a scent, I mean there is a perception that men have of you when they meet you. And it's not purely visual in terms of what they can see physically. It's also what they experience emotionally. And if you're leading with your wounds, you're going to be attracting a lot of broken men, because that is what they're drawn to. So that even when you're standing in front of a healthy quality man that matches your desires, you wouldn't even feel like enough. That's the first thing that will come, because I've seen it happen again and again with clients through this transition of dating the wrong men to meeting their husbands. Firstly, you wouldn't feel adequate enough. You will question the fact that you're qualified to even be in space, to even be attractive to that kind of man. Again, that's your wound showing up. Then the next thing that will happen is it will feel like you're learning a new skill. Because you're dealing with a man that actually has sense. What I mean by that is a man that isn't quick to be reactive, a man that isn't gaslighting you. You're dealing with a man that actually wants to have a conversation, that actually wants to love up on you. So it's going to be a very different shift in the way your body processes affection. And that's why it's really important that you start the healing journey in the way you're dating. And that's why inside Wife in Waiting, we have a curriculum that breaks this down. Because I know that once we start healing your wounds in the dating process, it is not only going to change the quality of men you're attracting, it's also going to change the quality of relationships you have with those men. It's going to make you more desirable, and it's going to lead to you getting into the right relationship much faster. And this is the work I do with clients inside the program that has led them to relationships in 6 months and married in a year. So Wife in Waiting is open till the 28th of February. If you know that you're ready you're a woman over 30 that's Christian, single, you are ready to actively start dating to meet your husband. You want to do the work of healing. You want to do the work of really understanding the blockers that are getting in the way of you meeting your partner. You want to understand how to strategically and make yourself practically make yourself available to meet your husband. This is the program for you. You just click the link in my bio and first tab to apply. The application takes less than 2 minutes. Once we receive your application and you're the right fit, I'll invite you to join the program. We'll have a chat and I'll invite you to join. This is a program that is for the woman that is ready to take the next step. What I mean by that is you're tired of seeing the same patterns year in, year out. You're tired of constantly having broken relationships, broken engagements. You're tired of not seeing any men and dating blindly. And if we're being really honest, you're over the whole process of doing all the prayers and the fasts, which, by the way, are super important. But you also want to understand, how does God show up practically in my life? What does it look like when God is talking to me about men that I'm going on dates with? What does it look like when the Holy Spirit is telling me that I should download this app, or I should say this, or I should ask this question? I can't tell you times without number where the Holy Spirit, it's so interesting. The other day, I'll give you a bit of an insight. The other day when I was talking when I was having a conversation with a guy, right? Because these are things that I apply in my life as well, by the way. Everything I teach, I have done. So the other day when I was talking to a guy and the Holy Spirit kept saying, ask this question. And this is a skill that I teach my clients. And I asked it, and do you know the answer to that particular question was the reason why that conversation ended? And it's not a question that I didn't see a need to ask. But I can't tell you times without number where it's also happened with my clients, because again, these are skills I teach my clients, where the Holy Spirit will direct them to ask this question or say this thing. It saves so much time. A conversation that maybe would have led to going on dates, would have led to a whole relationship, and then you now discover there's a problem 6 months down the line. You can find out in literally maybe 2 hours, just 2 hours of talking in less than a day, basically. And it's important as a Christian single woman to be able to know when and how the Holy Spirit is speaking to you. Because it's going to transform the way you're dating. It's going to transform the way you attract men. There's a different grace that you'll be carrying when it comes to being able to test and see when you're dealing with an actual Christian, or you're dealing with a counterfeit, or you're dealing with a man that is wasting your time or not. So that's part of the work I do with clients inside the program, understanding how to partner with the Holy Spirit through the dating process, because the Holy Spirit is going to lead you to your husband. No one can tell you where you're going to meet that man. I just know that these are the 3 ways it can happen, whether online, in person, or through your network. But I can't tell you the day, the time, the location, the minute, and the second. But the Holy Spirit can lead you to that point. I even remember one of my clients, she was in Wife in Waiting. She went through our curriculum, because our curriculum is specifically designed to help you heal. Because I know that once that gap is closed, it also releases your soul to be able to connect on a deeper level with your husband. It calls to his spirit on a deeper level, and that allows you to be visible to him faster, right? So it's a very key part of our program that you go through our curriculum, which is laid out for you step by step, and we literally walk with you along the journey to know every single week how you're getting on, and so on and so forth. That is outside the coaching I provide, by the way. Anyway, this client, she was in the program, she used the curriculum, and the curriculum alone just blew her mind. She said she's just never heard it taught this way before. By the way, loads of clients have given that feedback. And then she said the Holy Spirit led her to try a dating app. One of the dating apps that is recommended in my program. She tried the app and she met her boyfriend within 24 hours. Not only that, she met 2 quality men, one of which became her boyfriend in 24 hours. That is something that can only happen when you start to do the work of paying attention to not only what the Lord is telling you, but also allowing yourself to go through the healing process so that you can hear faster, right? Wounds are also deafening. They deafen your spirit. So when you're dating out of your wounds, they deafen your spirit. It's harder for you to hear what the Lord is saying. It's harder for you to understand what he's showing you. And the more you heal, the cleaner your senses will become spiritually and emotionally, and you'll pick up things faster. So I have a quick question here on how do you know you are healed? You know you are healed and you know you are healing when you are not triggered in those areas the same way, and you start seeing a shift in your experiences. So imagine, I'll go back to a wound. Remember when I said you have a fresh injury? If somebody presses it, you are going to jump, right? But if you have let that wound heal, maybe you've put some disinfectant on it, bandaged it, given it some rest time, somebody may press it and maybe this time you just flinch. Maybe a couple of weeks down the line, you graze it, or rather somebody kind of touches it, you don't feel anything. It's the same way with healing. You are not triggered in those areas the same way. That's how you know that healing has happened and healing is taking place. So with my clients, one of the first things that we do in the program, that's why I do the whole check on. We have all my clients, there's a 1 hour call. I like to see your history because I'm looking for your wounds. I'm looking for gaps. That's why we do that, because when I see your wounds, those are the areas we're going to target inside the program. And it usually shows up with discomfort. I may tell a client, try this. Like, oh no, I don't. That's how I know I've hit a wound. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Or maybe your client is talking to a guy and she has all these, all these thoughts, these fears, or she's going on a date and she has all these questions. That's a wound, right? That's how it shows up in the space of dating. But when it starts healing, there's less triggers, there's less questions, there's more confidence. And I've seen it with clients again and again going through the wife-in-waiting process. To be clear, she matched with her boyfriend in 24 hours. He did not become her boyfriend in 24 hours. She matched with him online in 24 hours. They started going on dates, they started talking, and then he became her boyfriend. The emphasis on the 24 hours is that connection happened within 24 hours of joining the dating app, because before she joined the app, she had used the wife-in-waiting program to shift the way she was seeing men and the way she was experiencing dating. And it had also made her more sensitive to how the Lord was leading her. And she got the prompting from the Holy Spirit to download the app. And that was when the match happened. Okay? To kind of go into that example of my client in more detail. But yeah, so this is why healing is majorly important. And I'll tell you something else before I close this. Healing will shift your experience as you build your family. A lot of you are coming from broken backgrounds, broken homes, broken family stories, broken patterns. When you start healing, it's not only going to shift your family, it's going to shift your generational story, and it's going to affect and shift the way in which you show up in the world, and the story that you are going to be able to tell to your family and through your family to the world. Which is why it's a major part of the work I do with my clients in helping them meet their husbands. Right. So when you start this journey, you will be visible to your husband. I've seen it happen with clients again and again over the years. And this is the process of getting married. So if you know you're ready to take this step, you're a Christian single woman over 30, you know that, you've tried all the things, it's not working. You want a guided, proven process to date to marry so that you can get in the right relationship in 6 months and be on track for marriage in a year, then Wife-in-Waiting is for you. Our doors are open till the 28th of February. You can either join monthly or you can join for the full investment of 6 months, which also comes with one-on-one coaching calls with me. Click the link in bio and first tap to apply. Once I receive your application and you're the right fit, I will have a chat with you and you'll be invited to join the program, and we can get you on track to meeting and committing to your husband in the next 6 months. Okay, guys, I will talk to you all again soon. If you have questions about Wife-in-Waiting, feel free to send me a DM here on Instagram at FanTheFlame or an email at tolu@tolufalade.com. Talk soon. Bye.